welcome to bonus topic number 7. We're going to be going into something that I call time filters. Now, we've started talking about filters in our internal map of reality sessions, and I thought it would be appropriate to have a little bonus topic about some various aspects about filters. Now, when we are looking at filters, in particular this one that I'm interested in sharing with you called the time filter, we have to understand how the subconscious treats time. Time for the subconscious realm is different than it is for our day-to-day conscious activities. We'll talk about that. And so here's some aspects of the time filtering process that we have that I think is interesting. Something called the direction finder, how you orient yourself to your timeline. The frequency counter. We're counting our activities and then connecting it to the frequency of events similar to it on our timeline. What's possible and impossible, we determine what's possible in our reality based on the outcome or lack of outcomes in our timeline. And then finally, I'm going to talk about something that I call a root cause event. And I personally believe, and there's lots of research to support this, that any issues we might have in our current reality, in our current day-to-day, stem from a specific event in the past, a root cause event, that since that time you changed, something happened in your past that created such an impact that from that point on you were different. It caused a transformation inside of you, and you reacted differently. Sometimes some of these transformations are good and resourceful. We're interested in the transformations from root cause events that are in fact unresourceful and that may be limiting you in your ability to get what you want on a day-to-day basis. So we'll look at root cause events. The bottom line here is that if there was some magical way of healing that root cause event from the past, then you in the present will be healed. And it's only by healing that event from the past that you can heal yourself today. So let's go into it. So as we've been talking before, our conscious mind is really only 10% of our realm, and that the subconscious does a whole whack of things that we just don't have the time to do. We're busy. And in the conscious realm, if you see at the top up here, they talk, and I kind of agree with this in this slide, that willpower is something of the conscious mind, that you will things to happen and your subconscious participates. But then look at the next three: long-term memory, logical thinking, and critical thinking. All three of those are connected to your timeline, right? Your memory is in your timeline. Your logical thinking can only happen when you compare things to when things should happen, and your critical thinking. So it's all very much a time, present, past, and future relationship. However, your subconscious doesn't work that way. Your subconscious only looks at cause and events. So when a frame, we'll go back to frames now, when a memory frame is recalled, your subconscious treats it the same whether it is something happening in the past, currently in the present, or projected to the future. Your subconscious treats all frames equally. So in essence, your subconscious doesn't parse out time in the same way as we do on our day-to-day conscious level. And this is important because those of you who do have root cause events that were traumatic in the past, you know they hurt as much today as they did in the past, and maybe even more. Okay, so let's look at the direction finder. So what I'd like you to do, if you are interested in participating, is to orient yourself towards the future. For you, where is the future? Is it something straight ahead of you? Is it to your left? Or is it to your right? What direction is your future? And this makes a difference. And we'll be talking about this quite a bit in some of our other sessions. But let's just put it this way for this particular discussion. If you are someone who has pointed straight ahead, that makes you a very direct, goal-oriented person, doesn't it? If you are a person who saw your past or your future either to your right or to your left, this makes you a more of a pensive, thoughtful person. So you're going to look at your timeline as if it's laid out in front of you on a screen or on a table, and you're going to assess your whole timeline before you make a decision. So this kind of effect on the way that you process information is directly related to how you see, how you orient it your direction. And there's other things in here, but I think that's one to just get started with. Figure out for yourself which way, where, which direction do you think the future is. Now, remember, there's no right or wrong, and you can change these for specific effects. Let's look at this one, a frequency counter. Now, this is one that has a couple of different uses. If something has happened 0 times, has never happened in your past, so you look at something and it has never happened before, that has a very special meaning. And people who are faced with a frequency of 0 when they're making up their minds to do something will react in one of two main ways. One, if it has never happened, if it's a 0, they may decide that they want to do it. Wow, I've never done that before. I really want to do that, and get excited and motivated to do something that has a frequency counter of 0. There are others that when they see a frequency counter of 0, they say, no, I don't think I can do that. I've never done that before. So this is very important to know if you are a never do it again, or have never done it and want to do it, or have never done it and will never do it. Which type are you? And this can be flipped. You can flip this around for your various effect. The number 1 is a very interesting one. So if someone sees that an event has happened once before, again, there's at least two possible ways this person can react. And this will be consistent. This is the way they will react most times to the number 1 event counter. They may say, oh, I've done that before. I am not going to do it again. So there are those people who will only do something once. So once they hit a counter of 1, that's it. They won't, or they don't want to, or they resist, or make a fuss. And there are others that say, oh, a 1, I've done that before. Let's do it again. That was whatever. Let's see if I can improve it. Or it was fun. Whatever rationale they'll put when they see 1 counter for an event, they'll be more motivated to do it again versus those that see a 1. It's like those people who never want to watch the same movie again. And me, I can watch the same movie over and over. Then the number 2 and more is a very interesting one. When it's a number 2 or more, these people will either become more committed or less committed. So some people, the more often they do something, it has a reverse effect in making them not want to do it anymore. They become more and more resistant. Now, there's another way this frequency counter works. Sometimes for people, they need to hear something or be asked to do something a certain number of times. Some people will do something on the first frequency counter, but some need to hear it twice, some 3, and possibly some 4. And the frequency counter, unless they have been talked to or suggested to 4 different times, they will not act. So this is like a convincer. How many times do you need to hear something before you're convinced to act? Now, here's the key. If you're working with someone or with yourself, and you ask them to do something very simple, note how many times you have to ask them. You might have to try a couple different things, like, oh, pass me the butter, and they don't do anything. You say, oh, I really like to get that butter. Still don't do anything. And you say, hey, Joe, please pass me the butter. And I go, oh, okay, I'm sorry, here. And they pass you the butter. Took 3 times. Now, here's the kicker. That's the way Joe will be most of the time, regardless of the immensity of the decision that they have to make, or no matter how trivial it is. Something as trivial as passing the butter, they had to be asked 3 times. Something as big as buying a house, they got to be convinced 3 times. Very powerful thing. So know where you are on this particular on your frequency counter. Now, there's different aspects of this, but those are a couple of the big ones. The number 0, the number 1, and the number 2 or more. Let's look at this other one in regards to time, and this has to do with sequencing and where you position yourself on the timeline. And this will, for some people, determine whether they think something is possible or they think something is impossible. You will look at yourself and you will say, oh, I can't do this because of where you are in the timeline. You may say, well, I am too young to do something, or I am too old to do something, right? And that will be possible or impossible. You might say, oh, because of my age, this is very appropriate for my age, I will do this. Now, this becomes even more and more significant as you age. You will tend to limit what is possible based on where you are in your timeline frequency, timeline range. So as you get older, you may find yourself limiting your possibilities. Okay? But it's purely something that you have put into your timeline. So here's the big one that I think we can do a lot of work with. Your root cause event. So in your timeline, there's an event that shapes you as you are today and will shape you as you will be tomorrow. So it has all the what, where's, when, why's, and who's, but more importantly, when. So when you go along your timeline, there will be a singular root cause event that may have been reinforced many times after, but there's a key one, that if you can neutralize that root cause event, it will take away the pain and suffering and limitations of all the following occurrences of that event, anything similar. So you might have an event in your past that limits you. Then as you go along in your current present state, you will match up anything that you're perceiving in your present future with the possibility of that event. If you get a match, then it will determine how you react. Now, again, as I said, if it's a very resourceful reaction, you become strong and you tackle the issues and you go forward, fantastic. Leave it alone. But if it's a root cause event that causes you to have fear, anxiety, to limit yourself, and to not go forward if it becomes a very unresourceful effect of your root cause event, then you may want to look at it. Now, there are lots of therapies that involve actually reliving root cause events. The approach that I've kind of grown to doesn't do that. I'm not a proponent of reliving trauma. However, there is a way of releasing the trauma or releasing the energy associated with a root cause event without reliving it. And so this is what I call cleansing or clearing your timeline of all limiting root cause events. Okay, now I'll be honest with you, it does take work. It does take time. And in my last bonus topic, I talked about the fact that the more you practice, the more you do this, the better you get at it, and the more effective you become at cleaning your timeline. Very resourceful people spend a lot of time being resourceful, and they spend a lot of time at achieving their levels of success. They don't just sit home and wait for it. You've got to go and get it. So we'll be talking about this timeline meditation. It's a guided meditation to clean your timeline. Now, you will probably, if you choose to do this guided meditation with me, you'll probably enjoy it. But what I want you to be able to do is to do this meditation on your own and to make variations of it. And I'll give this little story. I was doing some work in a group home, and I was doing something like the timeline, not exactly, but kind of like it. And one of the young fellows said, "Oh, I've got one for you, Steve. Can I tell you my guided meditation?" And he told me a guided meditation that was fantastic, and I must try to replicate it. It's called Melting the Snowman. And the snowman was all of the things that limit you. The snowman was all of your pain. The snowman represented all the things that froze you. And then what he did in his guided meditation, which is rather beautiful, he melted the snowman slowly. And as the snowman melted, all of your tensions, all of your fears, all of your anxiety went away with the melting snow. Very beautiful guided meditation. So that's another example of working with an imagery to deal with a root cause event. But we'll get more into that later. So here's the thing. When you look at your timeline, there will be events. And so we have a way of traversing your timeline by utilizing your subconscious. You will get good at using your subconscious. You may not remember the details of your timeline, but your subconscious mind does. Your subconscious remembers all of the details, even though you may not remember. Now, here's the trick of how this works. Your timeline is there all the way, and your subconscious knows it. Your subconscious may protect you from information that may harm or hurt you. So you may not be able to consciously see the information on your timeline, but your subconscious does. Your subconscious has said, "Oh, I don't want to show you this because it hurt you before, and I don't want to hurt you again, so I'm going to make it invisible. I'm going to filter it." So your subconscious filters out painful content, but that painful content still affects you. So these root cause events, until healed, will affect you. You just can't see them. You can't see what's causing you to react the way you are, but it's still there. Okay, I hope you understood this. So bottom line, your subconscious can see your entire timeline. You consciously have a filtered version of your timeline. You tend to only see the parts of your timeline that are rosy, rose-colored glasses. Well, that's it for your quick little bonus topic. We obviously will be going into the time filter in great detail later on. But I thought it'd be worthwhile to share this with you to give you an idea of where we're going in the future with the timeline filter. Okay, that's it for today.